it at level 8 instead of taking the 3rd level of W. It also lets you move around the map faster, which isn't, it's not that big a difference, but like every now and then it does happen where if you'd gotten there 1 second earlier, you would have been able to save someone's life. So once your team is roaming a lot, it is a thing that you would like to have your Eora up. And right now there's not really any reason for you to be bot anymore. So before I'm level 11, I like to try to get as much XP as possible. But if I'm really far from level 11 by the time laning's over, I'm going to probably give up on getting extra XP from just babysitting my carry. Right now you're really not doing anything. You're probably watching the fight in top. Try not to do that. If you have absolutely no way of being relevant, then there's no reason to watch it. And if you do have a reason to be relevant, then you should be walking towards it. So your choices were actually help your carry push tower or push lane so that you can start pushing tower before whatever team fight is happening in top is over, or start walking top so that you can get there to help. If you ult him now, it's probably a kill. You can still ult him. Yeah, so you should have ulted him off right there. Like, Ezreal very clearly had enough damage that you would have been able to kill him. So just be aware of when your ult can result in a kill. And yeah, it doesn't feel great to use your ult on a single target because it is AoE and you are using it as basically an ultimate that is no better than Terex then. But it really does get you a kill to just use it on one person sometimes, and so it's absolutely worth it. Yeah, this is really unsafe. Just like having so many people on the enemy team be there when there's just 2 of you there. That was a very good ult across all 3 of them. And if Teemo had come down, he might have been able to nearly kill. So you reacted well to a situation that you shouldn't have been in the first place. So for items, the Aegis Rush is fine if you're not going to go for Australia's Rush. Definitely Aegis Rush is completely acceptable. I'm sort of surprised that Shen isn't getting one, but if your jungler isn't getting one, then, and especially if you have a couple kills, so that you can afford it even though it's really expensive, definitely go for an early Aegis. The reason that you see a lot of high-low and professional players say support shouldn't get Aegis is that it's really, really expensive, and higher elo games tend to not have as many kills and assists, and so the support tends to have even less money relative to other players than in a game where you're having a lot of kills, where you're having a lot of assists from laning. So when you can afford items like Aegis, you should absolutely go for them, even if normally they're too expensive for the support. And again, you don't need to be babysitting your carry and bot lane. You can be with your team top. At this point, I guess it's pretty much too early for a Baron. But excuse me. In a game where laning had lasted a little bit longer, at this map position is a time that usually people are starting to think about Baron. You see Shen coming, so just ult them. Like, ult the 3 of them. You could have flash ulted the 3 of them a lot earlier. Well, your flash is down. Okay, so you could have ulted them and gotten at least 2 of them in your ult, and then when Shen was coming from blue, he would have been able to land a stun on a group of collected stunned people. Or sorry, he would have been able to land his taunt on a cluster of 7 people, so he would have been able to get his Sona on more than just a single target, and you probably would have been able to convert at least 2 kills there instead of just the 1. So when you're chasing around the map like this, try to keep your power chord on an E. So even if that means you have to use a useless Q, when you're at really close to full mana, it's not so bad. And ideally you'll have a chalice soon, so it'll be even less bad to sort of waste mana on a Q that you're not actually using. And then you just keep the E chord, so if you catch someone out of position, you can just slow chord them, and on the flip side, if they catch you out of position, you can slow chord them to get away. And when you're fighting like this, okay, so ult all of them. You probably could have done an earlier ult that would have gotten onto more of them. But you basically just need to run at this point. The ult onto Ahri, or the exhaust onto Ahri was late. There could have been an earlier exhaust. And your team might have been able to do better if you had exhausted someone earlier. And then you should have just run. Like, your team was dying. There is pretty clearly nothing that was going to be able to happen from it, because you just got engaged on with an Ashe arrow. And against Ashe, for this reason, I like to get a Crucible as quickly as possible, because that stun can last a really long time. And if you Crucible the person who got hit, then it's just like the arrow didn't happen, and then they're missing that engage for about 50 seconds. And when your Crucible's on cooldown and they have arrow, you have to be more careful. But as long as you have Crucible up, it's like they don't have arrow. You just have to make sure that you're not the one who gets arrowed. Again, you don't need to be going bot lane. Like, you're level 11 already, you have level 2 ult, you're unlikely to get level 3 ult, and your other levels aren't nearly as important as having the next level of your ultimate. So just be on the top half of the map while Baron is up. And you do have it warded, and you'll probably be able to get there in time if they start it, but it's just better to have more control, because you're not really accomplishing anything when you're in bot. And right now, you should be telling your team the cooldown of your exhaust. This is a good bush to have warded. I'm not really sure why you left base without any wards at all. You really should have a Sightstone by this point. And then you could have just dropped a Sightstone ward in here. Although in this bush and the respective one on your own side, I like to keep that pink warded whenever possible, because that's a huge place to be able to deny vision. So whichever one is relevant. Usually they're not relevant at the same time. Like, either this one matters or this one matters. Keep a pink ward in whichever one matters. It'll last for longer than a Sightstone ward, which is good, and then it'll also deny vision from the enemy team there. Having 3 bot is ridiculous this late in the game. There's no reason for you guys to have 3 bot. Like, so Ezreal and Vlad came down to gank Ashe, but they were pretty clearly going to be able to get her before you got there, or she was going to be able to get away. There was very little chance that you were actually going to make a difference in that fight. So go back, realizing that maybe you're going to need to go bot, then realize you're not going to actually be able to do anything, and you can just go somewhere else on the map where you're more useful. Since you do have mobility boots, you should probably get an Oracle. Generally, I only get mobility boots on a support if I'm building oracles, and I get the mobility boots so that I can clear wards more effectively. Otherwise, I tend to not get boots too for a really long time, in favor of getting earlier utility items like Australia's. Yeah, it's probably not worth ulting at all. Shen was just caught too much. Again, you want to have that push ward. I realize you don't have any wards on you, but you want to try to keep that push ward as much as possible. As soon as Ashe hawkshots this, you guys need to get out. If Malphite had flash up, you are both dead to a flash ult just then. And you're dead anyway, so... Okay, no, you're not dead. That was a really good flash. That was really good exhaust. Again, you reacted really well to a situation that you shouldn't have been in. This time it turned out better than it did the previous time, but... So, I don't really know why you got a second red crystal instead of finishing your Shurelya's. Unless you're going to build it into a ruby sightstone. But at this point you should be able to afford your Shurelya's. Yeah, you can afford Shurelya's right now. So just tell your team BRB Shurelya's, and then go ahead and get a Shurelya's. Because you're really going to want to fight the game-ending push really soon, and having a Shurelya's for that engage can be pretty huge. So at this point, I would say get a Shurelya's instead of a ruby sightstone, because the game is so close to being over. But you really do want the Shurelya's. Okay, so Malphite ult is down, which means that you can just ult, like, Shen gets that ult now. So your ult is late. You could have gotten an ult onto 4 of them at the very end of the Shen taunt, and combined with Vlad's AoE, plus Ezreal just auto-attacking them, you probably would have been able to kill at least 3 of them, if not 4. Group with your team, stay grouped with your team. Don't split off into the jungle like this. If they get caught without you, that's bad for them. If you get caught without them, that's really, really bad. Again, ult now, ult now, ult now. Yeah, so this ult is going to be late, whenever you do it. Yeah, so the only person you hit is Malphite. The reason is that you didn't do it early enough. I'm not sure if you just don't know exactly what the range is, but if you don't know what the range is, like, just practice ulting in a custom or something, and just learn what the range is, because it's really important to know that range when you play Sona. Again, when you're chasing, try to get an E-cord off. Sometimes it means that you have to wait an additional 2 seconds before casting your E than you otherwise would if you just E'd without E'ing to make sure that there's a cord up. But it's worth it, because E'ing without getting an E-cord is not nearly as effective as E'ing and getting an E-cord. So you probably could have taken them, but since Shen wasn't taunting, just get out. If Ezreal had stayed, it's likely that you would have been able to push the base as long as you all dodged the Ashe arrow. So now you have a lot of gold. You don't really need a bulwark against them. You can get a bulwark. I guess I has a fair amount of damage. And Nidalee's still poking, so that's okay. I still think that you really want to Shurelya's. But yeah, your Ruby Sightstone is just really, really, really late. And again, this late in the game, Ruby Sightstone is a form of GP10. It's never the most efficient thing to get it immediately, unless you're about to have a war Baron and you actually want to use all 5 wards. And on top of that, give them only 10 gold per clear instead of 15 gold per clear. That's basically the only time when it's actually cost effective to get a ruby sightstone immediately. So if you feel the need to be as strong as possible right now, you shouldn't get a sightstone. But